and gentlemen, my name is Maja Vukoe. I serve on the board of the Artists Association, and it is my pleasure to welcome you tonight. Tala Madani's paintings and animated films operate with a visual language that is often grotesquely exaggerated, both drastic and tender, obscene and funny. Her oeuvre posits a world in which primal desires are unrestrained by conventions and social norms, while her works are suffused by light that point both in and outward. Her most recent exhibitions include La Panacée, Montpellier in 2017, the Liszt Visual Arts Center 2016, Centro Andaluz de Arte Contemporánea Sevilla 2014, the Moderna Museet Malmö in Stockholm 2013, and the Stedelijk Museum Bureau Amsterdam 2011. Her work is represented by 303 Gallery, New York, David Kordansky, Los Angeles, and Pila Correas, London. Mark Leckey works with sounds, video, and installation. His work draws on elements of British pop and youth culture. In particular, he is known for Fiorucci, Made Me Hardcore from 1999 and Industrial Light and Magic 2008, for which he won the 2008 Turner Prize. He served as professor of film studies at the Städelschule Frankfurt from 2005 to 2010. He has exhibited internationally here in the Secession main room in 2015 with a show featuring also the work by Alessandro Rajo. At the moment, he has resonated widely with his one-man show at Tate Britain. In the name of the Artists Association of the Secession and the Friends of the Secession, who signed responsible for the format of exhibition talks, I would like to thank you, Mark and Tala, for having accepted our invitation to have this conversation tonight. I apologize that there will be no time for questions and answers, but the artists will be present to answer your questions in the course of the evening. At 7 p.m., we will be opening 3 exhibitions by Tala Madani, Ron Nagel, and Lisa Holzer. You are all very much invited to join. Thank you.
Is Ron Nagel still alive?
Yeah.
He is.
He didn't come. He's insistent with it, but the show's great, actually.
I'll go and have a look. Are we on?
Are we on?
Are we on?
Yeah, that's good.
Hello.
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 Hi. Hello. Can you guys hear us? Echo. Echo.
Neither of us have done this before,
Yes.
so it's a bit awkward. So we're going to drink a little bit first.
Cheers.
I've never had to ask questions before.
Only answer them.
Yeah, that sounds a bit. No, but I mean, in this situation, so I've been thinking about your work. Well, to be honest, for a long time. The reason I've been asked to do this is because I'm a fan. I've liked Tala's work for a long time, and so that's, yeah. I'm here to ask, because I genuinely have questions about. It's funny because when I was walking around here, I was thinking, do I actually want to know the answers?
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Do I really want to
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I might not know the answers too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm just going to plunge straight in.
Let's go straight in.
And because this is new work to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, all right, just to set the scene, I should say, the work I know has been about men, right? Has used a lot of kind of mobs, gangs. They're not gangs, are they? They're like groups. What would you call them? Like fraternities?
Yeah, I think probably the work that I've shown before, prior to the title of the show, Shit Mom, before this body, would be more similar or exemplified by the corner paintings. They still have the kind of the characters, the figurative, the human character in them is male. And that's what I've worked with in the last 10 years, is mostly focused on, well, mostly on men, individual or groups. And so I wasn't really interested in painting any female figures until I realized I could paint her with sort of shit, so then that became interesting. Yeah. So that's the work you know, and that's the work that I've been mostly busy with.
Yeah. So this is very new to me.
Right.
And all right, I guess the first question is, do the babies grow up to be men?
So babies, yeah.
Are we gone back in time?
Right. I wasn't projecting. So let me before I start going into it first too, let me just preface by saying, you started by saying that you've thought about the paintings. And I just have to say that that's in itself is such a gift for a painter to have somebody else, any viewer, think about their paintings. It's important enough for me to say that because when I paint them, I have no sense of if they're going to be interesting enough or thought-provoking or anything. So that's a great. And so thank you for coming as well. By the way, it's like Friday night. Sorry. So I'm avoiding talking about the work right now. This is what's happening. Let's just go into a big preamble. But when I was painting these, I came to the studio after 8 months of not being in the studio after I had my second child. And before I had my first child, I have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And before I had my first child, I was told by someone, oh, I bet this is going to influence your work, being a mother. And it made me very defensive. It made me very protective of my work. Like, what do you mean? I mean, and why should it? And my work is my work, and it comes from somewhere else. And then I had my first child, and I realized the influence that was happening was unexpected. Like, I became very interested in infants' limitations of sight, about how kids only see a blur, and then they only see black and white, and then slowly they have color. Or I became really interested in tactility and how children first go really smooth, and then they really, really push and have no. So that became influential in the studio, the first child. And then I realized how many other female painters I know that really resist, in the same way I was resisting, the kind of wash of their domestic experience into their psyche and into their studio. And then I became quite questioning of that protective position that I saw with other artist friends. And I thought, well, what if you just start painting whatever you see? I've been staring for 8 months now at this child. I can really see the contours now because I've been just staring at it, not falling, So I thought I'll just paint a little something for myself in the studio, just to get it out of my system. I'll just paint a little mother and child and put it in my bathroom, and that'll be that.
Right.
So I did. I painted a little mother and child, and it was irksome. It was disgusting to see this female figure holding a child. And then I realized, because we've seen so many female figures holding a child, and I had to just smear her out. I mean, I couldn't stand it. I just smeared her away, and then she became quite shitty. The background was blue, and so with the physical, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Like that, that's new. I haven't seen this sort of shitty mom and this clean child. And so I paused a little bit, and I became interested in that. So then I realized, like, why haven't I seen shit mom before? I mean, well, that's like ubiquitous. Like, you go to your therapist, and I have such a shit mom, right? It's like a joke, right? So I became really interested in why we haven't seen this, like, the sort of the mother, the shit mom in our visual vocabulary. I'm sure it's somewhere. I'm sure there's somewhere, but it's not as obvious to us. So I decided to stay with her. So to answer your question about if these kids, if we've gone backwards, it wasn't the plan, or it's not. I think there could be girls or boys.
Yeah.
But the child is always the new thing.
Right.
So they're the new.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah. We're done.
All right. I get. Well, why is there so many of them?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true.
Because it really reminds me of, like when I came in here, it reminded me of a Cronenberg film, The Brood. Do you know that film? Does anyone know The Brood? Great.
Nathaniel was the
Great,
father of the children. Yeah.
Kind of Cronenberg body horror film, which
is a horror film? Yeah, I don't watch horror.
It's basically a horror film about
Right.
having children. Yeah.
About having children.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And the potential of these children just to kind of devour you.
Totally.
Yeah.
But also there's all these B movies called, is it called The Baby or The Babies, right? With the, what's it called? Yeah, It's Alive. It's Alive and It's Alive 2, where like the baby comes out and kills everybody in the hospital.
Yeah. Demon Seed.
Demons, I mean, even Halloween, right? Isn't Halloween the baby's the killer, right? I mean, I think that's interesting, right? The fear of the new, the fear of, I mean, their job is to kill us.
Yeah.
It's death by love. It's,
right.
I mean, and I think it's interesting. I think if the old generation resists, that's the problem.
Okay.
I mean, for me, that's the problem. I feel the shit moms take it well. They're accepting this, whatever's happening to them.
Okay.
So why is there so many of them? I don't know. I mean, you know, some of them have won, but it seemed like there was a lot to do, so some of them had more. So yeah, there was.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking that because I'm used to seeing this kind of like I say in your work, this kind of this group.
Yeah, the group, right.
And then this is like switched.
Yeah.
To like, and you were always seemed to me you were dispersed in the group, or you were amongst them somehow. Or they were like an avatar for you.
Right.
But like collectively, and now it's like, it's the only, you know, you look at this and it's like, well, that's you, right? There? No?
I mean, possibly, but I think it's interesting, because I do think that I was thinking when I was painting the kids in, I thought, how many of them could she take?
Right.
Like before the chaos happens, before that group thing that you mentioned, which is in the bigger ones. I mean, I'm really interested in group dynamics, like the group brain versus the individual brain, which is something that we don't really have as individuals now. Very often we can't experience the group brain. I mean, this is interesting, right? This is an interesting experience. You're perhaps closer to someone more than you wish to be because of the chairs. In the cinemas, we have these experiences. In concerts, probably the closest experiences in concerts, because, I mean, in Hong Kong, they're having an amazing experience right now with group dynamic. Like when you have 1 million people together, you can't really leave the group. What happens there? But I don't think we're having that as often as maybe people did in the past, except through these concerts or cinemas or something. So I'm very interested in the group brain. I didn't really think about the kids as having that brain yet. They were they were floppy. They were still sort of developing. So I didn't think about them in the same way of the group dynamic as the larger paintings.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah. I lost it.
It's all right. No, I'm trying to. All right. There's the ship mom.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's like the phantom.
Right.
Parent, or is that a phantom
Yeah.
mother?
Yeah. So I thought after I was painting this ship mom and the babies, I thought, where did the guys go? Where are the men in my paintings?
Right.
And then I had some of the paintings. One painting of a sort of I'm very interested in of a blurry person. I mean, I think blurs are very interesting right now. Because I think there's a lot of people painting with blurs. I'm not sure how many artists are in the audience, but there are a lot of. But even when I see advertisement or films, you know, people choose paintings to put in films in the walls. People have been choosing to put blurry paintings in the last, let's say, 10 years more than previously. And there's something I think about this that we're really much more comfortable with something that doesn't have a concrete edge.
Right.
These days there's something,
like this. Well, there's that thing they call zombie formalism, isn't there? Do you know about this?
Sure.
I guess that's part of it, right? It's like a kind of like, it's like using
Is it
all the
there?
sort of
Is it not
tropes
there?
from like abstraction, but they're like kind of meaningless and decorative, essentially, right?
Yes. It's interesting to be here, right? I mean, with the Klimt and the sort of the height of the meaning of the decorative, like where decorative had actually potential.
Right.
Where it was controversial, where it was against the grain. And where now we have been enveloped by the easy, by the kind of the grain, and the decorative is definitely not anti the grain anymore. So, I think painting is always, I think painting is easy. I think.
Is it?
As a material for audiences, I don't think painting is very difficult. I think as a society we know how to read paintings. I think it's very difficult to make difficult paintings. I think. Because it's a sort of a material that we're anyway, in the West we're quite accepting of now. But anyway, that's maybe too formal of a discussion. I also, let's go back to the beginning, wanted to say that I've heard that when Mark had his show here, you weren't able to give a talk, right? You weren't here.
Yeah, I was here.
Did you give a talk?
I don't think so, did I? No.
So I just wanted to open this up to if anybody is having a dying question and you saw Mark's show a few years ago, that we could also bring in,
No.
Yes, please.
It's just, we're gonna focus. All right, so the phantom parent, so that's...
Oh, so that was the man, right.
Yes.
Thank you for reorienting.
It's all
Yeah,
right.
so then I thought, where did the guys go? And maybe that's where they were sort of ghostly. And I thought maybe the babies can still see them.
Wow.
Well, babies have different special powers.
No, I'm thinking more about the father as a kind of
Ghostly figure.
insubstantial figure.
Figure.
That's barely there.
Is that a wow? Interesting.
That's more what the wow was for.
Right. Yeah.
Because I've got kids as well.
Right. I thought they could do that, or they could have these guns and
Yeah, that's interesting. The guns.
shoot at the sperm. So that's what they're doing. That's where they ended up.
I love the way you say that, like it's just
Well, it's
a logical conclusion to things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just boring over. So how do the guns? All right. I guess what everyone wants to know really is how do these things manifest in your mind? I guess that's the.
I mean,
Because we understand the ship mum and that, but then you look around and there's, like you say, there's guns, there's disco lights, there's other things that are not as explicable.
Well, I'll tell you what I can tell you.
Yes.
What I can tell you is...
Do you want some more wine?
I haven't touched mine yet,
Go and have a swig.
I'm not sure if
Have a
it'll
breath.
help. Yeah,
I think it will.
Go on, thank you. How do you make sense of these things? I mean, let me tell you, so one of the things that I thought was interesting, let's go back to the children. Let's go back to the child. Children are children, or children are like the symbol of something else in the paintings. And I always think about the children as the new, like we were just talking about, as the new thing, the new culture, the new country. And I was reading this great text by D.H. Lawrence, the British turn of the century amazing author. And this is the text that he was writing. It was a critique. So it was a critique of Hawthorne, Daniel Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter. So we're in Vienna. So is the Scarlet Letter by Hawthorne very famous here, very, very known here? It's known completely in America because it's part of the high school education. It's like a must thing that you read. And the way they focus on it is it's about a woman who had an affair in early puritanical America and with a priest or with some church person and had a baby. And so she has to walk around wearing the scarlet letter, a big A, adulteress. And they really focused on this, adultery and the sin in the high schools. Not the novel, but in the education of the novel. Anyway, so the Lawrence piece, the critique of this, he really focuses on the offspring. The offspring, he says, is actually America. So this baby in the Hawthorne book, he says, is a symbol of America that's born in sin,
Right.
if you will. And so I found that quite interesting, that this is a repeating feeling for some, for writers or makers, that the baby can simply represent the new in whatever form. So America was the new, right? So the baby was that. And I follow that logic, that thinking. And then, yeah, so that's that. And then, yeah. So back to what you were asking me, where do these come from? So these, they come from, where do they come from? I mean, I've been painting for, 10 years or 15 years every day. So they come from everywhere. Ask me another question. Let's cross that one out.
Well, it's like, all right, so when I came in here today to have a look around, sort of the first one I went to was this corner projection there.
Yeah.
Corner piece there. So I don't know if you can see that piece over there in the corner. It's a projection. It's a projector, and a dog is howling at the projection.
Yeah.
And two kind of shadowy figures are kind of lurk behind the dog. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had the same reaction to that I did. I remember going a long time ago to see a Isa Genskin piece.
Oh, interesting.
And it was a fruit machine, do you know, a fruit machine?
Sure.
With this huge prop wine glass on top of it, right? And something about that collision of those two just totally disorientated me, right?
Right.
And kind of made me drunk or made me feel inebriated. And when I came in here today and saw that, there's something so perfect about an idea of a dog howling at a projector, howling at the moon, howling at this light source, but it's like that's rendered as a painting, and I can't and I don't want to kind of unpack that painting, but it's like that's I guess if we're going to talk about anything, we've got to approach where that comes from. Why is that?
Yeah, and I don't think there's a fear of unpacking it too much, but that's the last one I've done of the corner projections, and the other two were, I was thinking very much about projecting onto something, our projections onto something, and the sort of and people's wanting to be projected onto, and their sort of desire not to be so much projected on. As I paint these male figures, and they are a bit of a caricature, they use a bit of a stereotype of where they come from. So I think a lot about what is being projected onto them. And so with these two, I thought about what if the projector is quite large and they're just running away from it. I wanted to have this dynamic of whether we don't know if they're actually part of the projection, they're completely fabricated, or they're running away from the projector. So that was a bit of a question.
Yeah.
And in that one, I thought maybe the projector is actually quite beautiful colors, and who knows if they're running away from it or running into it, or what is that event of projecting onto something.
Right. Yeah.
So with those two, then I thought maybe they need some cover. So paintings for me lead to other paintings. So you do one thing, and then that leads to another thought of maybe they need a cover, and dog might be the dogs seem more scary than they are, right? They bark, so you think there's something there, but it's just a dog.
Yeah.
So I wanted something that seems spangy, seems loud, but is in fact probably the sweetest creature you could ever see, And this uncanniness of what is that light being made, and what is that spit that's onto the light of the projector, and they're out of worldliness in a way.
Yeah.
That collision.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite new for me still, so they're unpacking themselves. I mean, I think I always paint beyond myself. That means I don't really know, materially anyway, what I'm doing, so that I want there to be, I really look for moments where when I've like lost it, and then maybe something exciting happens in that. So this is a little bit of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way you said it then, it was really interesting, because it's like, it was like a joke.
Right.
It was like, what if these people are, it's just, that's funny, right?
Yeah.
There's a giant projector.
Yeah.
So they're running.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
So
Yeah,
it's
right.
like, it's a joke, right? Essentially, it's like, I don't know, that's what makes them work for me, because they're sort of jokes, but then, they become more involved with like painting and how you paint a joke and that.
Yeah,
but that's why, it's like you can't, I hate that word unpack, but you can't, diagnose a joke.
Well, it's also useless in a way, let's be honest about it. There's a really big question of how useful even this conversation is.
Yeah.
Because I really think that the painting is a problem, that you put a problem, and for anybody who would maybe have a chance or the accident of looking at it, they finish the thought. They solve the problem for themselves. So it's completely rudimentary and completely uninteresting, really, whatever's here. Or, it's just between you and the painting.
Yeah.
That's, maybe there's something interesting there. So, so that's it, really. Yeah. But, I don't know. Something
Well,
to see.
you sort of don't want to break it, do you? It's like, all right, one of the questions I had for you was about sort of dumbness, right?
Yeah.
Like crudeness, dumb is the best word, I think, because I think dumb suggests something deliberate or intentional, right? I'm a big fan of Guston, because I think Guston did these really dumb paintings, and then in the same way, I'm a big fan of like Ramones, right? Because they do a similar thing. So is this sort of, it's very sophisticated language. Well, not sophisticated. See, all that falls apart when you start talking about it. But it's like, it's using this quite kind of like crude language to make some, to nail something, to actually just go that. It's this feeling, this sensation, whatever it is. It's like, it's this, and I can't elaborate on this. I have to just do it like, it has to be quite dumb. And so I wanted to talk to you a bit about dumbness, and whether you think that's part of what you do, or I've just insulted you.
Oh no, I am hard to insult. No, I never got one. I think when you paint, I'm very interested in making it quite free for myself.
Okay.
So I'm not thinking it in terms of if something is, I'm definitely thinking about it in terms of easiness.
Okay.
So easiness, though, because I feel like I want to have, for me what's interesting is, what could make something good in a sculpture, in a painting, or anything interesting, is the transfer of some thinking, some energy into the object. So that's why I love the paintings that I like. It's like when I feel the charge of the maker in the object, or into the film or whatever. That's why I love Tarantino. Like Tarantino, when I watch Tarantino films, I just feel washed by his energy, regardless of which film, what topic. In a way, it's irrelevant for me what he makes, subject-wise, which is sort of depressing, perhaps, because maybe he wants to really talk about certain subjects. But my interest in him is simply that force. And so with painting too, for me it's really important to be very free with the way I handle the material, with the way I handle the paint. If I have to sort of not be able to sort of be present in my thinking in the painting, it loses its power.
Right.
So I don't think about them in terms of are they smart or are they dumb or how are they painted, are they caricatures. I just try to paint at the speed of my thinking. So to not bore myself or not to lose the thought. So I'm thinking and I'm painting, and sometimes they become fast or caricature, sometimes they're quite slow, whatever that moment's thought is. And to really, so that's sort of, it's about capturing that focus. Because ultimately, paintings are just, you're following someone's thinking, their thought. Yeah.
So are you trying to block out thoughts of painting as you're painting? Are you?
Oh no.
No.
Oh no, you're very much in them. Yeah.
I mean the history of all that weight. Does that concern you?
No. I think if anything, it's I was just at the museum, the Historische Kunst Museum. Wow, by the way, amazing. And it's so difficult to not want to. For me, it's so difficult to not want to just copy everything.
Right.
Which of course you don't necessarily want to show any of it, but the desire to be in the history of painting is a positive thing. It's not a scary thing.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Though I probably won't show it, but I mean, what if one could like paint velvet the way they did in 1500s or 1700s? So history of painting. No, I mean, I think there's some things interesting about material. I think some material, some things they have their own intelligence. Like I think electricity is intelligent as a thing because it knows how to be grounded. I mean, you can ground electricity. What? That's crazy. And plants are intelligent. Plants have intelligence. And I think painting, the material of paint itself is also quite intelligent. So I think I quite like to follow the material too. It teaches you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking because it's like, if you ever go into art school and teach, like not the worst tutorials, but always the most difficult ones are with painters, right? Because they're the most kind of handicapped. They're the most.
The teachers, or the students?
No, the students. The students who want to paint are often the ones who are the most kind of stuck.
Oh, interesting.
And they're always really constrained by what they, like I said, the history of painting, but also like painting now, and they concern themselves about the market, about
that's
and all
terrible.
the rest of it.
Yeah, that's very.
But what you said, you seem like that you're kind of free of that you seem quite free when you go into the studio and paint. Has it always been, I mean, what's your secret?
No, I think everybody can paint. I mean, I think you make the problems are when you think that it's actually when you make it harder for yourself than it needs to be.
Yeah. It's
the problem, right? So painting or drawing is it's the most natural thing in a way. You're born and you just make marks, I mean, if some kid is here, they'll just take that water and they'll just move it around, right? And that's the painting. So that's I think I think what's difficult is the communication of your ideas through painting or through any medium really, because of the competition you have with so many other communication sources here. And so I think if they're painters, if they're student painters, or if they're painters in the crowd, is the idea that one just has to be okay with a different timeline of communication. That you're not communicating in the same time span as the way your phone apps communicate to you. So let's just be okay with that in a sense, and then you're not feeling the handicap of the material.
Right.
Let's say. Gosh, what to say about that? I mean, that's like everyone's journey, and I think having a hard time is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you have to struggle to find your language.
So what was your struggle?
My struggle was when I realized that I need to not paint the way I was. I started trying not to make it look like something.
Okay.
I tried to not. I got rid of my sources. I, like many other people, were using photographs or sketches or live drawings, and I just decided that I'm just going to paint the way I can, and not use photographs. And so, because that, for me, that energy, you look at the photograph, then you come to the canvas. That immediately breaks the energy that I'm really interested in. So this to this is the problem for me.
Right.
So that's when it, for me, became easier, I guess. Yeah. We have more audience members now. But yeah, let's check out time.
How are we doing for time? 10 more minutes. Okay.
I think we should have it also if there are dying questions out there. We could take a few questions.
I've got
two dying questions. Yes,
two dying questions for you, and then I'll because I tell you, one of the things that I did think of when I came in here, because of where we are, is like the Viennese actionists. Are you at all interested in?
Oh,
in
sure. I mean, who isn't into Nietzsche? I mean, that's you know, that's
right.
So well covered. That's the thing, right? I mean, but it was so timely for what it was.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was watching the video over there. Is it called Sex Ed by God?
Yeah.
That's amazing, that piece.
Did you like that?
Everyone should go and watch that. Yeah, that's amazing. That's an incredible
Thank you.
bit of I don't know, psychodrama in like, what, 2 minutes?
That's true.
It's, I've had my mic down here all the time, sorry. So Tala's got these series of animations which are all no more than 3 years old?
Yeah, most of them are all in the last 2 years, that's right.
Even though you've been doing animations?
Since 2008.
Right, so they're kind of concurrent with the paintings?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And there's one there that guy there is just putting the headphones on that's called Sex Ed by God. And it's quite different from the rest. There's more things going on.
That's true. And then there's words.
And there's
language. There's words. Yes.
Who's doing the words? Who's doing the
voice? I had a great a voice actor.
Right.
Come in and do the voiceover.
Wow.
And he was brilliant. I mean, he came in and he was, well, I don't want to, but he was a character. So we should make a short about him. I mean, he was fascinating. And there's a point where I wanted him to scream, really scream, and he really screamed. And so it was fantastic, and we recorded it, and hopefully it'll be a film at some point if I ever can find him again.
Okay.
But then that didn't work out.
Okay.
So then I had another friend, a friend of ours, an artist, who said, let me try this, I'm interested in this. And so he did the voice for it, an artist friend.
Right, okay.
After hearing the screams, he was drawn to our studio and said, I want to scream too, can I try this?
Oh, we literally heard this.
He heard the screams, he was drawn to us, and he tried it, and he's brilliant comic god. So, of course, he was the one we used. But the original voice actor is a muse, is certainly a muse.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's a bit in the animation where, so essentially what it is, it seems like, to me, it's like a father and a son, and the father is kind of like, the only word I can think of is inculcating his son in the ways of like the patriarchy, right? He's basically teaching him how to be a man, right? And how to identify women as sexual objects, right? And they're looking at this projection that you've taken from like illustrations of
just some kind of anime or some kind of animation, yeah.
And she's kind of quite passive, just sitting there, and then she breaks out of the screen. That bit is amazing.
Thank you.
So she literally comes alive and breaks out of the screen and snatches. I shouldn't be telling everyone. And snatches the man and the son, and then puts them up as snatch. quite literally.
She takes them back in the womb.
Yeah, she takes them
Other
back
way,
in the womb, yeah.
That's a cool. People might know what that means.
They might not
in
know what a
Vienna.
snatch
Yeah,
is.
right,
Right, okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, just the sort of...
Yeah, that came up today at the press preview. That
Did it?
Yeah, that
Can you tell us something about that?
That basically a lot of the animations are quite bloody. The end is very the death comes, and I made this challenge for myself that this one I wouldn't kill anybody.
Right.
So I thought, well, what else could happen if they're not gonna get smashed by her or something? So I thought, well, she could take them back in the womb, basically. So that was the return.
They return.
They return. No, I just wanted to make an animation about sex education.
Right, yeah.
By God, so.
But there's always something for me about, all right, this is the last thing I'm going to say. So there's always something for me about your work, which is about a kind of, a sort of rapture, but then a kind of, I've got to go back to my notes here, but then that rapture sort of turns sinister.
It's so true. The rapture's interrupted.
Yeah.
There's that's a really good way. That's my experience making them as well.
Right.
I have to say, I have the experience of the culmination of this high of the painting and then the sort of
right
is very much my experience too.
Yeah, because I read some stuff you said about making yourself laugh.
Right.
When you're working or feeling euphoric.
Yeah.
And that, you know, to me, that's always been why I like your work.
Well, it's also quite interesting because even like putting a show together, right? There's all this potential. So started painting, there's all this potential for so much that could happen. So there is that euphoricness, and then when it ends, there's nothing but disappointment. You know, that was it. You put the end, you put the dot. And actually, it was interesting because it also came up in conversation today that sometimes I try to make the paintings feel like they're still wet.
Right.
So the shit is still a bit wet, and this is to kind of suggest that this potential can be a bit elongated, that maybe it's not finished.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but I think...
Keep that a bit longer.
I always think your work's very much about aliveness.
Right.
It's about, you know, that's why it makes sense to do animation.
Yeah.
It's about how can you make a painting alive?
Yeah.
When you're looking at this kind of like dried, dead thing. How do you keep it like, you know, vivacious, maybe? Or not vivacious, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a better word than that.
I mean, you know, just alive is good.
Yeah, alive. It's like they feel very alive, and they're like, you know, and that's the sort of pleasure. It feels like you're in the moment of like when they were painted.
Yeah.
There's a lovely line I wanted to say by William Blake where he talks about being lost in the paradise of the work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're just like, it's just that moment where you're just totally gone.
It's so true.
And there's like that total pleasure in making.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you feel that with this.
Yeah, for me, the paintings happen also so quickly, because I paint so quickly. That paradise, that space, is so quickly lost. And I think that's one of the other reasons why, I mean, that I paint serially. So I stay with like this idea a bit longer because the painting themselves are so quick. I think we still have plenty of time, but because of the incline, it feels a bit. So if you do have,
should we open it up to questions?
If indeed, if any.
If any. It's always a killer, this moment, isn't it?
It's okay. Well, thank you so much for coming.
You got to give him 1 minute.
Give him 1 minute.
Give him one more minute.
All right. Give him more minutes.
Someone will ask a question. Someone will. There you go. I sort of hand wiggle up at the back.
You can stand up, please. I can't see you. That's funny. He was funny.
Okay. Is there one there?
I don't think so. I think it's we suggested, we tempted everybody to go and get for the opening, the wine. Everybody's like, why didn't you share the bottle?
Okay, I'm just trying to look if I've got any amazingly interesting questions.
No, but I think there is something about, I mean, for me it's really interesting because I had somebody from Secession who came to the show. Some of these paintings were shown in Los Angeles, and they said, this will do really interesting in Vienna because of, obviously, it's the land of Freud. So in a way, I wish we were doing this talk in 3 months at the closing of the exhibition. I'm quite curious, obviously, how each painting does in a different context. So really, the talk should have been not me, but the audience. In fact, that's where I think is more interesting, is the way the paintings are taken.
But you want them to be analysed?
No. I mean, sure. I mean, I have no position. I don't want either analyze. I mean, if anybody looks at your work, I think you feel so happy just to look at them.
Yeah.
That's enough. Wherever else it goes, that's fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, should we wrap it up? I've got to say that I don't know, most artists I know have enormous hang-ups about what they do.
Really?
And you seem very free with what you do, and that's it's kind of amazing to hear you talk about just. It sort of null and voids this conversation in some way, so it's bad in one sense.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of great in the long term because it's like you're just painting, and it's like that, and just in the pleasure of making these images and hoping, or not even hoping, but just waiting for a response. It's like.
Yeah, but I also feel like if the paintings aren't doing anything, if their paintings aren't telling you what they tell you, I can't tell you anything anyway.
Right.
So me not talking about them in many different ways isn't to suggest that they're not doing some things, but it's to suggest that they can tell you what they need to tell you.
Yeah.
And if I try to sort of break that open, I'll kill them. I won't give them the chance. In a way, it's sort of and also, I'm not an orator. I'm not a historian. I'm the painter, right? So my job, or at least my expertise, isn't in the rhetoric around the paintings. But I'm here to open up dimensions about my practice, obviously, if that part is of interest at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Hi. Smile. Smile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last chance for a question.
Jeanette.
All right, we got one. Hey.
Maybe it's not a question, but rather a comment on what you said before, because when you said that you're looking for babies as the new, and looking at the paintings, I think that's really fantastic, because the new, as I see it in your paintings here, is something that's very curious and joyful, and they're naughty in a good way. They're sort of like full of curiosity and don't seem to be afraid of, they have no prejudices. They sort of play with material, and that is, that seems to be such a nice way of approaching the newness of the, sort of just working with it. Is that something that you sort of also had on mind?
Yeah.
Like as a statement?
No, and I wasn't very conscious of that. I was thinking, well, I've been very interested in the difference between Eastern and Western mythologies in relation to children. Whereas you have in Western myths, in Greek or Roman myths, you always have the child killing the father. You have Icarus or or Oedipus. You always have, it's the son that kills the old king. And in most Asian, whether it's Japanese, Chinese, or Persian mythologies, you actually always have the kings, like the fathers that kill the children. And this is the things you grow up with. And this to me was a very, very pronounced difference that also shows itself up in cultural differences, as we orient ourselves. So for me, I'm always interested in the babies' potential. I mean, I think they are. In these especially, I think the shit moms are much more interested in just, anxieties about failure as a mother, right? So, but you know, there's other animations where the babies are just, they are killing. They don't know they're killing, perhaps. They're just touching, but they also kill, etc. So yeah, that's the new. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm that hopeful, but I'm hopeful. Yeah. But it was much more. I mean, these were where they were meeting. The babies were meeting sort of ship mom, and in that moment of touch, the contamination, whether she's contaminating them or maybe they are in their formfulness. Maybe they are the sort of fascistic sort of presence, and they're, sort of. I mean, they're the powerful in that sense. Yeah. The end. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, please. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I'm very mesmerized and intrigued by the use of light and space. And I think it's reiterated because there is no what do you say, the space next to the canvas?
Yeah.
So there's no confines, no boundaries, and how often it's black and white and light, and then opposed to this, the one we're here with the very colorful. On the hand, I was a bit struck by how you said about bringing the new, and it's just about present and history and what it all its associations. And then I thought to myself, when I see all these baby portraits, which are more like schemes, very abstract, and it is blurry. And then I was thinking, how does this reflect the individuality, each as a character, which I think is for me a bit different, because it's not a collective, but each one has their own personality. But at the same time, I'm very, very fascinated by it, because it completely gives a whole new narrative, if it's not as identifiable. And there's not really a question, it's just a few remarks, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the sort of the edge of the figures, the crispness of the figures in relation to the blurriness of their space. I think for the large paintings, I'm always interested in them in some kind of a psychological space, some kind of a non-space, anywhere space. With these ones, I thought they would be kind of interesting to suggest some kind of a disco space or some kind of a unexpected light sources. But with the large ones specifically, I was thinking they could be somewhere between, some kind of a dream space. Yeah.
You've called that a shitty disco before, haven't you?
Yeah. I think I still wanted to stay there.
Right.
Stay there in the disco. I think
disco.
The shitty disco. Now the mother's the shitty disco. The shit element in the disco. But that's the thing about painting fast. That sometimes I like to stay in that space a bit longer, right. So then things can recur in that space. Yeah, it's good. Thank you. Well, I hope you can stay and we can have more one-on-one talks. I'll be around. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you
for coming all this way and for your time on this. And
thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, cheers.